a bit to cover in the real estate and the government and the statewide government categories. Of course, the University of Virginia is always a hot topic, and I think today's show certainly fits the silos of content that we like to cover with some news that I think you probably have not heard. After today's program, you will see legacy media, newspaper, television, and radio that watches our show regularly report on these topics. And one of the topics that legacy media is going to report upon is the fact that Michie Tavern is for sale. There's an opportunity to acquire Michie Tavern, the business, and Michie Tavern, the real estate. And this is quite a precious parcel, a historic landmark nestled right outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. Michie Tavern, the listing says, offers a unique opportunity for a property with significant historical value dating back to the 18th century, nearly 7 acres that holds 4 distinct buildings, as well as a lot under 1 acre utilized for private parking and a maintenance building. We're going to talk about the opportunity that is Michie Tavern, now on the market. Probably the first that you guys are hearing this on the I Love CVille Show. William McChesney, welcome to the program. Reporters from local newspapers, radio, and television currently on the broadcast. I encourage you, TV, radio, and print, to take this news coverage and turn it into content for your legacy cycles. On today's program, I'm going to ask you the question, what is the top story of the year so far? Is the top story of the year so far what's happening with Glenn Youngkin's campaign, a fall from grace for a once presidential governor, now his lieutenant, a man credited with getting him into the governor's mansion, has resigned from his super PAC. Spirit of Virginia top advisor, political insider Matt Moran is out from the Youngkin campaign, a direct correlation to the Sextortion scandal that is ravaging the Republican Party across the Commonwealth of Virginia at a time where Republicans are struggling to maintain momentum thanks to the turmoil associated with government cuts in Northern Virginia and beyond. We'll talk about that on today's show, folks. We're also going to cover on today's show Delevan Street, 606 Delevan Street. Do you have the picture of Delevan Street, Judah? Put it on screen if you could, please, sir. Remember when this listing came on the market for $300,000 and the I Love CVille show said, how in the world is this house in the city of Charlottesville on Delevan Street in Fifeville going to command an asking price of $300,000? We even did a little digging and figured out it was an LLC that owned the real estate, an out-of-market LLC that owned this particular parcel. Well, folks, it's had 2 price cuts, and is now being offered at the affordable, tongue-in-cheek asking price of $250,000. Look at what $250,000 potentially can get you in Charlottesville as Judah's rotating some photos on screen. Man, there's no mold there. There's no rodents there. That green carpet is salvageable. Who wouldn't live there? $250,000, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about it on today's show. A lot I want to cover, including Ryan Odom really gaining momentum. Goodness gracious, Coach Odom has gained significant momentum with his basketball roster. It looks like this basketball team has got some deep pockets with what they can offer potential commitments here at the University of Virginia. Now they get a kid from Kansas State. My, oh my, he started at Kentucky. This was a former 5-star recruit, a 7-footer that's a bruiser, rim protector. Remember, they got a German international earlier in the week, Ryan Odom did. A guy that was projected as a 2nd-round draft pick is coming to Charlottesville to refine his craft before he tests NBA waters. You look at the roster, and goodness gracious, the John Paul Jones Arena and newly minted head coach Ryan Odom on paper seem to have a very good product that they're going to put on the floor. I want to talk about that on today's program. Jude, I want to weave you in. You still get the Michie Tavern photos?
I've got them. I just need to put them in.
Okay. We got some moments before we get to that headline. I'm always curious, my friend, which headline you find most intriguing. You and I look at things quite differently. I value your opinion. On today's show, which headline is most intriguing? And I'm very interested to hear your top story of the year as well. Judah Wickhauer, jack of all trades. We can use this camera here on the table as my one shot because this one's not lined up here. Don't sweat it. Go to a two shot if you could, and let me know your thoughts over there.
All right. Hold on.
There we go.
My top story. Man, I mean, most of these ones are pretty new to me, but the Sextortion scandal is pretty wild. And as we talked about yesterday, it seems to be that Youngkin has a bit of a playbook on what to do with people that you don't want around. And I don't think it speaks very highly of Youngkin. But who knows? He certainly seems to have energized John Reed's base with all of this. So it seems like he's done more harm than good to whatever his own desires.
Well, has he done more harm than good? Because right now the Republicans don't have a lieutenant governor candidate to oppose Reed in the Republican primary.
I just mean he's done more harm to good to whatever his...
for Youngkin himself.
Whatever his own interests were.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. I mean, his appeal has less shine and more stink than it once did.
Definitely.
We'll talk about that on today's program. What do you make of the Delevan Street? $300,000 to $250,000, a $50K cut. I mean, clearly this guy who purchased the property for significantly less money just wants to make some money. But it just shows you coming out of the gates, the $300,000 ask was absurd.
Yeah, I'm glad that everyone else noticed that as well and stayed away from it.
We'll talk about it. Let's give Charlottesville Sanitary Supply some love. 60 consecutive years in business. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. John Vermillion, Andrew Vermillion. These gentlemen do business the right way, the honest way, the communicative way. It's pool season. You're opening your pools right now. And as you open your pools and you want the best water possible for your family to swim within those pools, ladies and gentlemen, Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com. And, of course, our partners, a division of our company, Charlottesville Business Brokers. We've brokered a lot of business transactions of late. We help sell Great Harvest Bread Company in the McIntyre Plaza. We help sell Croby's. We helped the Tangerines folks open in the Croby's location. Moe's Barbecue a handful of years ago. That was part of us in our transaction with Derek Bond running the ship over there. Charlottesville Business Brokers is doing some big-time things. Check us out at charlottesvillebusinessbrokers.com. I think the top story of the year, and viewers and listeners, William McChesney, I'm curious of your take, what the top story of the year is. Eric Thompson, Georgia Gilmer, Carol Thorpe, Cully Baggett, Kevin Yancey, Tom Powell, Johnny Ornalis, Jehu Martin, Gary Palmer, just to name a few, Jason Noble. Curious of your top story of the year. Where do you want to begin with this? Is it the new zoning ordinance continuing being stuck in a lawsuit quicksand? Is that an option? Is a top story of the year the scandal continuing to plague the UVA health system? Another letter written this week to the Daily Progress, this one by the former chair of the University Physicians Group. Is that the top story of the year? Is the top story of the year this John Reed sextortion scandal where a Glenn Youngkin lieutenant has tried allegedly to sextort John Reed with sexual pornography, with pictures posted on an anonymous or disingenuous social media account on Tumblr? Is that the top story? Is it Donald Trump and the Doge cuts, the Department of Government Efficiency, and how it's impacting this market and how it's impacting federal funding at the University of Virginia? Is it the Burt Ellis oustring? That might be my top story. Glenn Youngkin firing a board of visitor at the University of Virginia. When's the last time a governor has fired a board of visitors member? And I'll ask a second question to that. When is the last time a governor has fired a board of visitors member that he or she appointed?
Right.
I mean, this isn't just a firing. This is a firing of somebody that you appointed. Is that the top story of 2025? Is the top story of 2025, ladies and gentlemen, the Charlottesville City Schools and Charlottesville City Hall, acquiring the Federal Executive Institute, an acquisition that Sam Sanders has monikered a generational acquisition, a generational impact for City of Charlottesville. Is that the top story of the year? Is it Ryan Odom's hiring here in Charlottesville as the head basketball coach and the replacement, the heir apparent of Tony Bennett? Is that the top story of the year? I mean, goodness gracious. One thing we are not short of is content and top stories on the I Love CVille show. John Blair, his photo on screen, he says this on LinkedIn. And then, Judah, I want to get your take. He says, I'd say the top story of the year is to be determined in this regard. Obviously, the resignation of the health system CEO is huge. The provost has also left. If Ryan were to resign or leave, then the top story for Charlottesville would have to be UVA executive leadership turmoil. Very, very well said. Craig Kent ousted on his own accord, but we knew the ousting was going to happen whether he did it or not as CEO of UVA Health. Ian Balcom, Jim Ryan's right hand, out as provost. He takes a job as president of a school in Vermont. Was it Middlebury where Ian Balcom went? He gets out before the arrows penetrate the C-suite, if you may. Maybe that's the top story. Viewers and listeners, your thoughts on that topic. Holly Foster is watching the program, and Henrico, her photo on screen, she says, to me, the top story would be Bert Ellis and UVA Health, without question. That's been riveting content for Holly Foster, the queen of Henrico, watching the program. Jason Noble is watching the show. His photo on screen. Jason Noble, you're a fantastic addition to the family. I appreciate your contributions of late. He says the Republican Party is too fractured. The Dems can at least mostly get on the same page, even if their policies are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Jason Noble adds in the feed. William McChesney, what's your top story? Judah Wickhauer, what's your top story as we springboard into the Friday edition of the I Love CVille show?
I mean, do we just put UVA as a heading for all of the stories they've given us? I mean, they're not exactly all connected, but we've got
certainly a lot of dysfunction.
The FEI building ties into UVA.
Federal Executive Institute.
Yeah. I mean, so much. All the Jim Ryan stuff. I mean, some of it even trailing along continually from previous years. The health, UVA Health stories, the CEO of UVA Health. I mean, it just doesn't stop. Can you pick one? They're like Pringles, right?
You can't just eat one?
Yeah.
I think the tagline for Pringles is once you pop, you can't stop.
Oh yeah. What's the you can't eat just one?
You'd have to look that one up. Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah.
For me, once I pop a tin of Pringles, I'm probably halfway through that can of Pringles before I've realized I've eaten all the sour cream and onion chips, or half the sour cream and onion chips. It's like a sleeve of Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies. I can sit down in one sitting and without question polish off a sleeve of Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies. What's the tagline from?
It's from Lay's.
Lay's.
Yeah.
Can't just eat one?
Bet you can't eat just one.
For me, the top story's got to be Bert Ellis. It's got to be Bert Ellis. It's got to be Bert Ellis because Youngkin appointed him to the board. It's got to be Bert Ellis because after Youngkin appointed him to the board with the mission of being an agent for change, and as Youngkin became that bull in the china shop, the agent for change, he was fired for malfeasance by the governor. Then Bert Ellis goes on a speaking tour where he highlights the ins and outs, the who, what, when, where, why, the behind-the-scene conversation from his time in the governor's mansion with the governor himself on why he got fired. That right there is my top story. And to John's point, I think UVA with the absolute crossroads position that Jim Ryan is in right now, that could be not just the story of 2025, but the story of the last generation of the University of Virginia. Jim Ryan's fall from grace, potentially. So as John has said, that is a to-be-determined storyline to follow. An interesting tidbit came up on Real Talk with Keith Smith today. The Federal Executive Institute, we know now Charlottesville City was selected. Chad Wood says, Judah, Lay's, now you're in my lane. He likes those potato chips. And Bill McChesney confirms that it is Lay's, that you can't just eat one. Here's the tidbit that I learned. Jason Noble also confirmed Lay's. Goodness gracious. A lot of people like Lay's here. Keith Smith show this morning. He's at a planning commission meeting yesterday. And in that planning commission meeting, this tidbit came up, which presented itself on Real Talk with Keith Smith today. The Federal Executive Institute, in the bottom of the ninth inning, and he didn't say which one, but he said a local advocacy group that offers advocacy for the homeless locally went after the Federal Executive Institute submitting an application to try to acquire the 14 acres on Emmett Street. And he said, and Deep Throat's confirmed this with me. Deep Throat put this on my radar early in the week. I hope Deep Throat's watching the program so he realizes that I'm giving him some props here. He said early in the week, that if a homeless outfit, an outfit that advocates for the homeless locally, if they submitted paperwork now or in a timely fashion, they would be the front runner to be selected as the purchaser of the Federal Executive Institute, because legally the language says the first priority would be some kind of homeless advocacy or advocating group as the front runner to get this property owned by the United States of America, by the federal government. I did not really mention that on the show, nor did I choose to make a big deal about that on the program, because frankly speaking, and this is just one man's opinion, and I'm probably going to catch some heat for saying this, I do not think that Emmett Street and those 14 acres are a great spot for some kind of houseless or homeless infrastructure or ecosystem. And I think if one of these advocacy groups was able to acquire those 14 acres, that goodness gracious, you may have an epicenter built for all of the eastern seaboard or the mid-Atlantic. We didn't talk about it a lot.
You think they would all come here?
What?
You think the homeless?
If you build it, they will come. You've seen it with the downtown mall.
I could just see somebody making a big stink about the fact that they put a bunch of homeless people behind a gated, that lock them behind a gate.
Well, that spot, you may disagree. I don't want to put words in your mouth here. And would you agree or disagree that that's not the best spot or use for the Federal Executive Institute land for a campus for the houseless? You disagree or agree on that?
I mean, is there anything around there that you would want to keep them away from? Like, I just mean in terms of like having the homeless, roaming the downtown mall, because
okay. So to the point that you're making, Jerry, would you really be pleased if this was in any location? Is that what you're saying?
No, I wasn't trying to make that point. I was asking, is there anything? We often talk about the fact that because the Haven is right off the downtown mall, that we have homeless roaming the downtown mall, mostly, keeping to themselves, but occasionally causing a little bit of trouble. And we talk about what would be a better place for them. And we talk about, well, do we want them on Cherry because it's right next to a park where kids might be playing.
It's in the heart of the city. It's within walking distance of everything.
Is there?
That's a great question.
A reason we would not want them on Emmett?
The tidbit I want the viewers and listeners to know: he did not identify, Keith, which organization it was. He did say locally there was an advocacy group, a stakeholder group that goes to bat for the houseless population, that in the bottom of the ninth inning submitted an application for purchase of the Federal Executive Institute land. And he alluded to that application coming in too late to win the opportunity. And he highlighted something that Deep Throat, a point made early in the week, that should a group like that submit an application to purchase, they would be prioritized. So that was out there. I was aware of it early in the week, thanks to a man I trust. And then Keith confirmed this morning on the show that actually did happen, but the timing of when it happened backfired for the advocacy group. That's a story that legacy media should dig into. That's a story there. Regardless, the city has it. I made the point, now the city's going to have to maintain it. They got it for $0. Now they're going to have to maintain it. Keith highlighted, you're right, that maintenance, a couple $1 million a year potentially, is something to keep your eye on. Because 14 acres and that amount of building infrastructure is not going to be cheap to maintain.
I'm curious whether they plan on using all 14 acres. Is it just going to be grass that the kids can run around on? Or the administrators?
Well, I mean, it's a great question. It's a great question. I would imagine it's going to stay mostly as it is, as opposed to building new infrastructure that would cost a lot of money to build. Yeah. Conan Owens' photo on screen. He said, you got Barracks Road Shopping Center right there, high traffic area. Look at all the panhandlers at the intersections. Make it the county office building and give the county office building to the Haven. Offer more insight into what you're saying there, Conan Owen. I respect your opinion. Give me more clarity on your comment there. Bill McChesney, and he's the owner of the local Sir Speedy franchise. He does a good job with that. We would really blow up your business, Conan, with some kind of partnership with the I Love CVille show. We get you a hell of a lot of new customers. That's something we should talk about. Bill McChesney says, if that advocacy group had won the bid, and he was listening to Real Talk with Keith Smith this morning, you would see Barracks Road starting to look like the downtown mall. I push back on that statement because Barracks Road is privately owned. It's privately owned by publicly traded Federal Realty. And Barracks Road has an opportunity or has the autonomy, the ability to police its private property. You see it at Stonefield. You see it at 5th Street Station. You see it at Barracks Road. They have security and off work hours that patrol Barracks Road, Stonefield, and 5th Street Station that prevent loitering and lingering and houselessness. So I do not think it would have been the same impact on Barracks Road had the houseless advocacy group have won the bid.
I think also
as it was on the downtown mall. Go ahead, Judah.
I think also part of what happens on the downtown mall is because the Haven isn't open 24/7.
The reason we have the issue on the downtown mall is because it's technically a public park. And there's no ability for the police, Chief Kachis has come on the show, for them to do anything about the lingering or the loitering or the houselessness. He says it's literally their right to do this.
Yeah, but part of it is that the Haven isn't open 24/7. And so the people want to be close to the Haven for when it is open. And then when the Haven shuts its doors and the people have to go somewhere, they're not going to walk, 5-10 miles somewhere else. They stand at the, they stay right on the downtown mall.
I've said why we have the houselessness aggregating downtown. It's a perfect storm of a lot of factors. The Haven, the soup kitchens that are all around the mall that are offering breakfast, lunch, and dinner for free. Mm-hmm. The fact that there's free public Wi-Fi in the downtown mall. The fact that there are charging stations for cell phones on the downtown mall. Every houseless person's got a cell phone, folks. Just look around. They're free charging stations. The fact that there's tourists and foot traffic for panhandling purposes on the downtown mall, right? Mm-hmm. You have these vestibules, is that the right word? These vestibules, these awnings, these overhangs that offer protection from inclement weather. And if you get downtown like I do, oftentimes I'm downtown in the early 7 o'clock hour. It's a very different look downtown as the population is waking up in each of these vestibules. I talked to a friend of mine that owns the building and runs a small business. I'm not going to say which one. Runs a small business downtown. It's a family business. It's been there forever. I go there from time to time to have, watches serviced. And she indicated to me that there's almost like a gentleman's agreement with the houseless individual. There's 2 of them that utilize her vestibule, where this literally is the conversation that was had.
Keep it clean and be gone by 7?
Pretty much. There's no peeing, puking, or pooping, the 3 Ps in my vestibule, and you have to be gone by this time. If you do that, I won't make and you have to take care of it. If you do that, I won't make a big deal of you sleeping on my private property. Because the vestibules under the awnings are private. The mall's public. Yeah. But under the awning offers the protection from inclement weather. And then the walls, the vestibules, could almost offer shelter from the wind. The
Windbreak.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the agreement that's in place. Conan Owen offers more clarity. The county office building is walking distance to major employers and bus lines. So you're saying the county office building, Conan, should be the houseless campus, the campus for the houseless? Is that what you're saying?
That's not going to take them away from the downtown mall.
I don't think that's, respectfully, is that what you're saying? Respectfully, I'm going to push back on that. I don't think that's going to have any impact on the downtown mall. The solution that I had was coming up with a campus that was in the urban ring on a bus line, but in Albemarle County. City of Charlottesville and Albemarle County do a joint venture, a JV, and the campus offers sleeping quarters, laundry facilities, computer lab, resume building services, drug and alcohol addiction services,
Yeah.
like a rehabilitation center. A respite from inclement weather, which would take pressure off the libraries. You go to the library in downtown Charlottesville, and there's many times you'll feel unsafe in the library in downtown Charlottesville. At least my wife does. Just put it in perspective, and I know a lot of her friends do. And I think that joint venture could be done somewhere in the urban ring with some joint taxpayer money. And the pitch is, if we go about doing this, it's going to be good for the economies across the board. I think that's what should be done. But that would require the city and the county working together for a common goal, and that hasn't always been the case of late. That's another reason that I highlighted with Sally Duncan running for Jack Jewett, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors District. She has an opponent, is it David Shreve?
Shreve.
Shreve, okay. And I highlighted early in the week that her husband, Brennan Duncan, works for Charlottesville City Hall as a traffic engineer, the chief one. I think it's important that that relationship be known, that a candidate for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, someone that's going to be in charge of a $600 million plus yearly budget, one of 6, their husband, partner, works in the neighboring jurisdiction in City Hall. I'm not saying it's nefarious. I'm not saying it's a conflict of interest. I'm saying we should know about it. That should be known. That's why I'm saying it on the I Love CVille show again. And speaking of the Jack Jewett district, there's competition there, and activists in Charlottesville, the Livable Charlottesville crew, are now attacking David Shreve, if you want to put that headline on screen. He was recently quoted, I read the content, in Crozet United with this response to a question. Giddy up and get ready for this, ladies and gentlemen. Crozet United, I subscribe to their newsletter. I think Crozet United does a great job. I hope Crozet United hears this. The Crozet United folks, come on the program. I would welcome you, Pass this along to the publisher of Crozet United, please. I would love if you came on the show, Crozet United, and we highlighted what you're doing in the content creation space around Crozet, Virginia. We will give you attention. Come on the program. In a Crozet United newsletter, this question was asked of David Shreve.
I don't know.
Is it Shrek? It's not Shrek?
Probably not.
Okay, Shreve, what are we going to go with until we're corrected? This is your bailiwick here.
I would say Shreve.
Shreve?
Yeah.
Okay. Shreve was asked this question by Crozet United. Why isn't Albemarle County's affordable housing program working? What would you do differently to create more affordable housing? This was his response. I'm reading the newsletter. I can tell you this, the solution is not to build even more houses. Many have tried that already, and prices keep going up because of excess demand from homebuyers who migrate from more expensive regions, such as to Charlottesville from Northern Virginia. That quote that he has offered, Crozet United, has put him in the absolute disdain crossfire of housing advocates. Because he says it's not build more houses. So the housing advocates, the Livable Charlottesville, the activists, are putting their full weight behind Sally Duncan. Their full weight. And they're putting their full weight behind Sally Duncan because they want somebody else, and I believe Michael Pruitt was watching the program earlier today, at the start of the show. They want their full weight behind Sally Duncan because she's all about building housing. She said openly, I'm a renter, I'm a tenant, I'm a teacher. My husband works for local government and City Hall. We have kids, we're renters, we'd like to buy. We need more housing affordability. if she wins the Jack Jewett district and gets on the board with Mike Pruitt and the candidate from the Samuel Miller district, there's 2 Democrats running for the Samuel Miller district. One just announced, and candidate Smith. The other candidate, is it Mizell? You going to help me with that?
I can spell it.
Can't spell it. He works for the University of Virginia. I'll give you the spelling right here. Now, this guy's got a tough slide here. Scott Smith is running for the Samuel Miller district, and he's got some opposition. He's actually running as a Republican. Please correct me. Please allow me to correct myself. He's running as a Republican. He's got some competition in the Samuel Miller district by someone who works for the University of Virginia, and it's Fred Missel.
Missile.
He works in design and development for the University of Virginia Foundation. What are we going to go with?
Missile.
Missile?
Yeah.
Missile? Smith's got some competition from the missile. The missile's trying to missileize Smith, who rode his bike to the Albemarle County office building to make his announcement, a la what he said, the patriots of yesteryear who rode on horseback to pursue liberty and freedom. I thought it was a hell of a stretch with that metaphor.
The missiles are coming. The missiles are coming.
The missiles are coming. Oh, that's hilarious. He should have used that. You've been on point with your jokes this week. The Youngkin and the Restless was something that I will never forget. And the missiles are coming is pretty damn good too, Judah. So you're seeing what's happening behind the scenes. The activists try to get a new zoning ordinance to become a reality in Charlottesville. That push is mired in quicksand. The new zoning ordinance is stuck in lawsuit purgatory. Because it's stuck in lawsuit purgatory in the city, no one's willing to pursue any development tied to this new zoning ordinance because they don't know the viability of the new zoning ordinance because plaintiffs are suing the city. Homeowners are suing the city, basically saying the city did not do enough study period, did not do its due diligence before listening to these activists to push this NZO through. I've been told that even if the plaintiffs lose the case, they will appeal because of the conflict of interest of Judge Claude Worrell being the arbitrator or the decision maker. He's a homeowner in the Charlottesville area, and his wife is a housing advocate.
I would think that's a little bit of a hard sell considering the fact that he allowed the case to go forward.
Other Northern Virginia judges recused themselves from presiding over these cases, citing conflict of interest.
He could have
There's
just
a precedent
the
for
whole
this.
thing.
There's a precedent for this.
I understand.
So I've been told that if the plaintiffs lose,
they're going to keep pushing it.
They will appeal and keep pushing and just keep this stuck in quicksand. Now, it's going to cost them some money to continue doing this, to litigate.
But if they're from the neighborhoods we think they're from.
They got ducats. They got ducats. Okay. So the activists said, all right, well, we're stuck here with Charlottesville. Let's turn our attention to Albemarle County. They handpicked Sally Duncan. They think if Sally Duncan can get on the board and be in cahoots with Mike Pruitt, who I think is watching the program right now, then they have 2 of 6 that are big-time density advocates. Yeah. And the conversation or the discussion is that they could potentially sway the missile in the Samuel Miller district, who, interestingly, works for the UVA Foundation in design and development. Is there a conflict of interest that somebody who's presiding over a $600 million budget also works for the University of Virginia Foundation, one of the top buyer of real estate in Albemarle County, owner of real estate in Albemarle County? There wasn't a conflict of interest when Brian Pinkston got on Charlottesville City Council, and he works for the University of Virginia. But Brian Pinkston doesn't work in a direct line of work tied to real estate like the Missile does. I mean, the Missile is a director of design and development at the UVA Foundation. The uphill battle for the Republican candidate, Scott Smith, who rode his bike to the Albemarle County office building to make the announcement, he's only been in the area for 5 years. So Scotty, S squared, has very little name recognition locally. Scotty and Scotty and the Missile, you're both welcome to come on the show. I would ask you open-ended questions about your platform. So, Chad Wood, I'm going to get to your comments here, and I'm going to continue breaking this down. Shreve, Jack Jewett District, he says no more houses. The answer is not to build any more houses because all the additional units that are coming on the market are far from affordable. All it is expensive housing that's being purchased by boomers and driving up the cost of living locally. He's got a very good point. Sally Duncan's MO, her thesis is more housing. You got a tale of two very different candidates in the Jack Jewett district. Tale of two different candidates in Samuel Miller district. And I'm told that Ned Galloway will join me on the Friday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith. Was it on the 16th of May? Or was it the 16th of June? I think it was June, wasn't it? One of those Fridays in the next coming weeks, Ned Galloway is going to be on the I Love CVille Network. Right now, he's running unopposed. But Nancy Muir, the head of the Republican Party, the interim chairwoman of the Republican Party, Nancy Muir has gone on record saying, we actively have another candidate that's going to jump in the race. And she suggested that other candidate is probably going to be in the Rio district. Let's see if the Republicans, the GOP of Albemarle County, is successful there. A lot we're going to cover, a lot of stories, ladies and gentlemen. Comments are coming in quickly. Let's go to Greenwood's finest. Actually, Chad Wood, I've dubbed you the master of Steve Isaac's single wing offense. Was it you and Brian Leskinek? Leskinek got a lot of the attention. But if it wasn't for your prowess with the pigskin in your hands, the running lanes would not have been open for Brian Leskinek, which would not have led to a walk-on opportunity at the University of Virginia. So Chad Wood, you get a lot of credit for the success of Steve Isaac's single-wing offense at Western Albemarle High School when you guys were the top dogs in the Jefferson District. He says affordable housing is just a one-liner in Crozet. I agree. It's become word salad. It's word salad. Jason Noble says this, see what I mean? If a Democrat deviates from the agenda, Shreve with housing, the party at large will turn against them and the activists will back them up. And he's right. Shreve is a Democrat. He's running as a Democrat, and other Democrats are attacking him purely because he speaks with common sense. That we don't need more housing in my district because all that housing is creating is expensive units and no affordability. Chad Wood, you're welcome, sir. You're welcome. Conan Owen says, how does restricting supply of anything lead to lower prices? Conan, I appreciate the question. If you want more housing affordability, I'm not saying you restrict the supply. I'm saying you use other solutions like the land bank or the land trust. You expedite the permitting process. Instead of it weeks or months for permits to go through, you make it much more frictionless. So here's some solutions. Fund the land bank and the land trust at a higher clip. Other solutions make permitting frictionless or much more frictionless than what it is now. Mm-hmm. Okay? Neil Williamson has the idea of using commercial corridors for housing, and that would open up some units. I'm fine with that, giving property owners more rights. But anyone who thinks that increasing the supply is going to create affordability is just not seeing that the population influx is just going to pick up more expensive houses. And as these more expensive houses trade with people working at the Data Science School or the Paul Banning Biotech Institute, for example, as they trade, it's just going to set an assessment barometer or an assessment comp that's going to raise the value of neighboring houses. And all that's going to do is make the cost of living more expensive and even worse, create more traffic and less quality of life. Anyone try to get in and out of Crozet of late? If either Interstate 64 or Ivy Road 250 have a car accident, you're 45 minutes to an hour trying to get into Crozet. It's an effing nightmare. Mm-hmm. Old Trail, when Western Albemarle High School is being let out, Old Trail, when it's being let out, nightmare. Or Western Albemarle, when it's being let out, that whole area around Old Trail is a nightmare. Jason, Sally is a renter with a large family, huh? Clearly a financial savvy. That's a savant. That's a dig right there. That's unfair. That's unfair. I'm going to say that's unfair, Mr. Noble. Philip Dow says, what about being used as a city or county courthouse? What are you saying? Putting the city or county courthouse that's being The new one that's being created as the epicenter for the houseless? Is that what you're saying, Philip? And Juan Sarmiento says, clearly the top story of 2025 is UVA. John Blair says, I would caution you. Did Mr. Shreve say that in 2025? I have no idea, but I saw a social media post that was pulling quotes from him from years ago. I'll call it up. I'm going to the Crozet United. Double checking here. April 2025, Crozet United. Jack Jewett District Supervisor, Democratic primary election. David Shreve. Our interview with David Shreve. Yeah. This is from April 2025. I'll read it verbatim from Crozet United. The question posed to him, why isn't Albemarle County's affordable housing program working? What would you do differently to create more affordable housing? He says, I can tell you this, the solution is not to build even more houses. Many have tried that already, and prices keep going up because of excess demand from home buyers who migrate from more expensive regions, such as to Charlottesville from Northern Virginia. And then Crozet United adds some context to that quote, and this is Crozet United's words. In Dave's view, the affordable housing crisis is partly due to ill-conceived tax policies that increase inequity within Albemarle rather than reduce it. Inequality itself, Dave asserted, is likely the biggest factor in our lopsided housing markets. While acknowledging that the Dillon rule is a limiting factor, Dave believes there are still many tools we could use to make housing more affordable, including efforts to help local landlords maintain the affordable rents that still exist, but which are increasingly difficult to preserve. A lot of people don't realize this. As a landlord, we have 24 tenants in our portfolio, 24 of them. And as a landlord ourselves, as our assessments continue to uptick, as the 4-cent real estate tax rate increase that the county executive is percolating with Board of Supervisors, those assessment increases and those tax rate increases, those just get passed on to tenants. The landlord is absorbing very little of that additional overhead. And people are like, oh, the landlords are colluding, Judah. The landlords are in cahoots. They're colluding. They're meeting. They're using software to kind of set rents and to screw tenants. That's the conspiracy that's out there. There's this software that helps them set rents, like the hotels do. When the University of Virginia has a home football game, they all raise their rates to $500 a night, and you have to stay for 3 nights to gouge tourists that want to watch UVA play football on a Saturday and get their ass kicked at the hands of Virginia Tech. Sorry, low blow. I'm an orange and blue fan. I apologize for that. Hopefully Tony Elliott's turning the program around. The reality is this. It's not the software that's causing collusion. It's not in-person meetings that are causing collusion. It's when the Albemarle County jurisdiction raises assessments and tax rates at the exact same time that drives rents up at the same time. Landlords aren't that smart, most of them. Now, you have some very sophisticated landlords, but those are few and far between. The average landlord is a couple unit Joe Schmo or Sally. What's the opposite of Joe Schmo? Sally. If there's a Joe Schmo, what's the opposite of Joe Schmo?
Is it the opposite in terms of male-female or the opposite in terms
What's the woman version of Joe Schmo?
Let's see, Jane Schmo.
Oh, it's so creative. From the guy who comes up with Youngkin and the Restless, you come up with Jane Schmo.
Give me time.
Okay, please. For the Joe Schmoes and the Jane Schmoes, the reason they're raising rents, is because their assessments and tax rates went up. That's why. They're not in cahoots. Crozet United, I would encourage you guys to check out the interview with David Shreve. And I invite him on the show. Maria Marshall Barnes, thank you for watching the program. And John Blair adds, not to say that I support either Shreve or Duncan, but I would be cautious about quotes if they aren't from 2025 candidate. They're from 2025, but I appreciate that cautious, that word of caution. Jane Schmain. Jason Noble. Joe Schmo, Jane Schmain, Judah. I'm going to go with Jane Schmain.
Spain?
Schmain. Maria Marshall Barnes says Flo Schmo. Joe Schmo and Flo Schmo. Both of those are better than Jane Schmo. Jane Schmo was not good.
I'm not saying it was a great
Flo Schmo and Jane Schmade.
Flo Schmo.
I like Jane Schmade. Maria Marshall Barnes, her photo on screen. She says this: Crozet has been a nightmare for years. Building happens and traffic is overlooked. Same thing in Charlottesville. Last 2 weeks, I had to travel from Fifth Street Station to Preston, and it's nuts. Dude, I made the comment 18 months ago when the Wawa news broke that the Wawa was going to come in place of Hardee's. I said that was going to make the Fifth Street Wegmans corridor, Fifth Street Extended, the most nightmarish corridor, synonymous with Rio Road. Well, Rio Road's way better now that they built that overpass on Rio Road. But Pantops is a nightmare. Is the second worst corridor in the area the Fifth Street Extended one? And dude, I have skin in the game there. I used to live in Redfields, owned a home in Redfields for 7 years, have a rental at the Villas at Southern Ridge. Your family lives down Fifth Street Extended.
Yeah.
Have you experienced the nightmare that is the Wawa intersection yet at peak traffic time, or do you choose to strategically avoid it?
When am I not at
You're
work
working.
during peak traffic time?
Okay. Have you experienced it during off-peak time?
Oh, yeah.
It's miserable.
Oh, off-peak, it's fine.
Oh, off-peak, it's fine?
I've never had a problem.
You've never had a problem with the Wawa intersection?
Not during off-peak times.
Okay. Peak time. It's
I don't. Sometimes I'm.
You don't really go down there, do you?
Sometimes I'm not a fan of the light, but it's traffic's not that bad.
Randy O'Neill says Josephine's schmo. Randy, I appreciate your comments, but Judah's changed schmo is better than your Josephine schmo. But I appreciate your comments, and I'm not throwing shade at you, Randy O'Neill. I love when you watch the program. Philip Dow's watching in Scottsville. Love when you watch the show, Philip. All right. A lot of topics we still got to get to on the show. I'll do these quickly since it's 1:23. These are topics for your cocktail party this weekend. It's Kentucky Derby weekend. The Kentucky Derby is on Saturday. So on Saturday, you need talking points for your cocktails and charcuterie. Okay? The cocktails that I'm going to enjoy this weekend are going to be probably a mint julep and some old fashions. It's going to be a toasty weekend for yours truly. Charcuterie, I love the, what's the Italian meat? That's prosciutto. I love prosciutto. Well, I can eat prosciutto all day. So I'm going to have some prosciutto and some mint juleps this weekend. I think the pool is opening the pool as well. So the first topic for your cocktail and charcuterie party. Judah, are you ready for this? Glenn Youngkin's lieutenant has resigned.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. Matt Moran is his name, and he's the head of Youngkin's PAC, Political Action Committee, Spirit of Virginia. He resigned in shocking fashion. He's the man most credited, outside of Terry McAuliffe being a bonehead, for getting Glenn Youngkin into the governor's mansion. You got Terry McAuliffe, idiocy, with the comments about parents in public schools, and then Matt Moran getting Glenn Youngkin into the mansion. Moran resigns as the head of the PAC. Mm-hmm. He resigns as collateral damage or in the wake of the John Reed sextortion.
Yeah.
That's a new word we've created, sextortion. The connecting the dots suggests that Moran, and this is just dot connection, this is allegedly, this is from the Reed camp, that the sextortion, the sex pics and the John Reed's words, gay porn, originated from Matt Moran on a Tumblr account to try to essentially blackmail him out of the Republican, off the Republican ticket in his pursuit of lieutenant governor. This is a fall from grace for Youngkin, and this is a Youngkin and the restless situation for the GOP in a very important election year. This will impact the University of Virginia because of if Winsome Sears is not able to win the governor's mansion, she may not be able to continue what Youngkin was trying to do with the Board of Visitors. If Spanberger wins the governor's mansion, the Democrat, Congresswoman, she's going to completely change what Youngkin has done with the BOV.
Yeah.
And that could create job security for Jim Ryan. So what Ryan's doing is playing the waiting game. He's playing the waiting game to see what or who wins the governor's race. So fodder for your cocktail party, a candidate who ran for lieutenant governor was being sextorted by a man tied to the actual governor. And that man tied to the actual governor has now resigned. And the man that was being sextorted has said, I'm not going anywhere. His opposition, 6 Democrats, 1 will be decided in a primary in June on the Democrat side. All right, next headline for you. More content for you guys. What's the next headline, Judah?
Oh, let's see. We've already shown Delevan Mickey Taverns for sale.
Oh, that's a great headline. How about this for some breaking news? Legacy media that's watching the program, print, radio, and television. Mickey Tavern is for sale. Put that on screen. Mickey Tavern is for sale. Television, radio, and print, you should report this weekend. TV stations and newspaper, report this weekend. Mickey Tavern is for sale. Both the business and the real estate. You're sliding the photos on screen?
Yep.
Look at the screen. 6.7 acre property. 4 distinct buildings on those 6.7 acres. Additionally, there's a 0.7 acre parcel used for parking. This opportunity has a fully operational restaurant offering, of course, Southern hospitality, probably most known for its fried chicken.
Mm-hmm.
You got shopping at the general store. You got the experience of Mickey Tavern. Hospitality retail venue. 200 years with operational history. Proven business model. The building is 22,148 square feet. Total lot size is 7.38 acres amongst the 2 parcels. You have 150 parking spaces here. That's some breaking news for the viewers and listeners of this fine and fair talk show for you. Mickey Tavern, not the law firm. The Tavern on Thomas Jefferson Parkway. Mickey Tavern, Judah. The business and the real estate for sale.
Wasn't it for sale a few years ago?
A few years ago, it was going through that transition period where the Thomas Jefferson Foundation was looking to acquire it. And then they had a fallout with their board. Mickey Tavern, goodness gracious. Does the fried chicken recipe convey?
I hope so.
Better convey that fried chicken recipe. This is an opportunity. But this opportunity has headwinds. And the headwinds are associated with food and beverage and staffing and disposable income and how internet and third-party delivery has eroded the in-person dining experience. And on top of that, 7 acres in this location, 7.38 acres, ain't going to be cheap.
Man, if you could get Mickey Tavern chicken, fried chicken delivered.
Or you get the Mickey Tavern fried chicken recipe and you figure out a way to cut your overhead, the 7 acres in this massive building, and you just specialize in the fried chicken and not in the pomp and circumstance. That's the business model that can operate. Here's a 200-year-old fried chicken recipe. Let's monetize that. If I was selling this business...
200 years old?
Yeah, it's been in operation for 200 years. I don't know if they've been making fried chicken for 200 years, but you can say the brand's got 200 years of history. You just call it Mickey Tavern Fried Chicken. If I was selling the business, and whoever... Listen to this, owners of Mickey Tavern. Just giving you some pro bono advice. This is $3.95 an hour advice here. Okay? Mickey Tavern. You sell the business, but you maintain the recipe to the fried chicken. And then you figure out a way where you can use the Mickey Tavern brand in some kind of fried chicken revenue stream. And it can be tied to a non-compete within X amount of miles of Mickey Tavern. You can't sell it, but you can create a brand and a business model around Mickey Tavern Fried Chicken and its 200-year history. That's a marketer and brand master's dream, a brand strategist's dream to build out that concept. Mickey Tavern Fried Chicken. Regardless, if you're just tuning into the program, this institution is for sale. Television, radio, and print. This is content that you should be reporting upon. And Martha Friedman says, don't you leave out that peach cobbler, Jerry Miller. That peach cobbler is damn good. Have you been to Mickey Tavern lately?
No, not in quite a while.
It's not cheap to go to Mickey Tavern.
Oh, yeah? I mean, it is all you can eat, right?
Viewers and listeners, what is the cost to go to Mickey Tavern? Is it on the website? I love everything about Mickey Tavern. I'm just saying it's not cheap. I'm going to it. I'm clicking dining. How much do you think it is? I'd say it's $35 a head.
Wow.
Let me see. Do we have a price? Any viewers and listeners have that information? No, they just got the private group information. Takeout? There's takeout? An 8-piece family meal is $35. That's a pretty good price. What's the cost to eat there? The problem is with takeout with that location, it's not really on your way home. And you would be passing like Browns and Wayside to get there. Anybody got a price? All right, next
Let's
headline.
see.
You got a price?
Bill of fare. I think so.
You got a price?
Let's see. Yeah.
All you can eat?
Adult, $25.95.
Oh, that's not bad.
Youth, $12.95.
That's not bad.
12 to 15. Child, 6 to 11 is $8.50.
I mean, we went to Selvage the other day, my wife and I, with our 2 boys. And at Selvage Brewery, my wife and I each had 2 beers. I had the Cisco for Sarah. On behalf, portion of the proceeds go to the Sexual Assault Resource Agency. She had 2 IPAs. We got 2 basket of fries with the cheese sauce.
I'm a fan of cheese sauce.
2 cheeseburgers, flat cheeseburgers with the bacon jam. And it's basically $100.
Yeesh.
It's damn good food, though. It's like $90.
I checked their website, and I was thinking of stopping there, but
Selvage is great.
I'm not a fan of cheese sauce. Like,
You don't have to get the cheese sauce.
But I want cheese on a burger.
Oh, your issue is the cheese sauce on the burger?
Yeah, I'm not a
It's a
fan.
great burger. It's one of the best burgers in town. Casey, the general manager, and that team at Selvage does a great job. Deep Throat's got some comments. Ooh, hello, Deep Throat. Welcome to the show. He says, speaking of your Sally Duncan, Brennan Duncan connection, Livable Charlottesville goes suspiciously easy on Brennan Duncan for an organization that's supposedly pro-bike and pro-pedestrian, with Brennan Duncan as a traffic engineer in Charlottesville. And he also says, look at the exchange in the comments. McLaren is a biggie. He shares a link, a Nextdoor link, with the candidates that are vying for Jack Jewett District. He says, McLaren is a biggie in the city Democrats. Incredible that the guy tries to make out the fact that Shreve got a bunch of money from Sonia Smith as a problem. I would love to send a screenshot of this to her. I wonder which other candidates are illegitimate based on having Sonia as their biggest contributor. Should we recall Katrina Carlson? He's basically saying that Shreve is getting heat because Sonia Smith, one of the kingmakers in politics in the Commonwealth, certainly regionally, donated to the Shreve campaign. The reality is Sonia Smith funded Allison Spillman's campaign and Katrina Carlson's campaign. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't give Shreve grief for taking money from Sonia Smith when you applauded Katrina Carlson and Allison Spillman for taking money from Sonia Smith. That's called hypocrisy. I think that's the point he's trying to make. Is that the point you're trying to make? He also says, I think it's funny that Riverbend gives money to a developer. I'm not going to use that word, Deep Throat. I think it's funny that Riverbend gives money to a developer like Duncan, but tries to hide it by having Ashley Davies do it. Par for the course for Ashley Davies, who I am told by someone we both know got herself elected to lead the Locust Grove Neighborhood Association by hiding her affiliation with Riverbend by using her maiden name in that effort. That comes secondhand, but sounds plausible to me. That's a little scuttlebutt right there in rumor mill. I'm going to highlight that's rumor mill. Rumor mill. He also says, have you noticed that Chris Seaman is also a supporter of Sally Duncan. Chris Seaman is the guy who built the phony website.
Yeah, I knew that sounded familiar.
The phony website that tried to tar and feather Meg Bryce in the Spillman-Bryce race.
Yeah.
And then he has a joke. I guess we need to keep checking GoDaddy to see if somebody tries to register a fake website for Shreve. That race was so bananas.
No doubt.
McChesney says, Duncan is a lousy traffic engineer. The city is going to constrict 5th Street extended to 1 lane. Conan Owen says, Mickey Tavern should buy Federal Executive Institute and extend Chicken Row. I call it's called the cock block.
What
okay?
would that...
It's called the cock block. You got KFC, Popeyes, Zaxby's.
Move Mickey Tavern to the FEI building?
The cock block. Chick-fil-A, Zaxby's, Raising Cane's, KFC, and Popeyes. 5 chicken-oriented businesses within less than a mile of each other on the same road. And Chick-fil-A and Raising Cane's are the winners in that battle. The loser in that battle has got to be KFC and Popeyes. I would say the clear-cut winner in that battle is Chick-fil-A. Number 2 is Raising Cane's. Number 3...
Where's Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A's in Barracks Road, dog. Barracks Road Shopping Center. I hate the waffle fries, but the nuggets are great, and the communication and the customer service is off the chain. The waffle fries stink. I don't get the waffle fries love. The chicken is fantastic. Jeremy Wilson says, I'm watching in Tennessee, and Kenny's in Lexington, Virginia. Awesome fried chicken and burgers. Scott Harris says, it's $30 to $35 per person. He was there on Easter. All right, it's 1:38. Goodness gracious, we got to go make some money here. What else do we need to talk about, or did we cover all the topics?
Ryan Odom.
All right, is that my last topic?
What?
I do want to highlight that I continue to have folks reaching out to us with our division Charlottesville business brokers that are well capitalized, that are looking to acquire businesses locally. I want to emphasize that, get the word out there. If you're looking to exit a business and you have realistic expectations for your exit, you are not selling one of your children despite it causing blood, sweat, and tears for you to get there. You're still not selling a child here, folks. Be realistic. There's one business I helped broker a deal years ago, and one of the businesses is up for grabs now, and the asking price is just extremely unrealistic. You have to be realistic. When you have well-capitalized buyers that are looking to acquire businesses, you're dealing with sophistication. They understand how to read a balance sheet and a P&L. They understand how to read a lease and see upside and downside. So if you're looking to exit, reach out to me. All right, I'll close on this. Ryan Odom is building quite a contender. He just got a former 5-star prospect that initially committed to Kentucky, transferred to Kansas State, and now is coming to Charlottesville, a rim protector. In the last week alone, he's gotten 2 big men, a German international that was a projected 2nd-round draft pick, and a kid from Kansas State that's 7'2", and he's a bruiser. He's got front court depth, he's got slasher and wing players, and he's got guard play galore. I mean, the expectations for Odom in year 1 might be top 25 expectations. And that's something right there. And they better be damn good if they're going to roll out that new licensing fee model where it's extremely expensive to get tickets starting in the year 2027. So that's the last topic of conversation. The Derby is on Saturday. The Derby is on Saturday. Judith, do you have a favorite for the Kentucky Derby? A pick? Maybe that's a ton. Judith's not going to have a pick here. Do you? Sorry. What are you going to do in the Kentucky Derby? Well, that's a better question.
What am I going to do while the Kentucky Derby is playing?
Do they play the Kentucky Derby?
I don't know. Is it on TV somewhere?
It's okay. Playing on television. Okay. What do you have any Derby traditions?
No.
Okay.
It's never.
No booze,
popped
no
up on
food,
my radar.
no activity, no fun.
Not specifically because of the Derby, but all those things for other reasons.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with I'll pick the 6-1 Sandman. Sandman. I'm going to go 6-1. He's in the 17th post. Sandman. That's my pick. Sandman right there. All right, that's all she wrote. Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller, the I Love CVille Show on a Friday. Tell somebody about the show, guys. So long, everybody.